You have no idea about the head loss I've just achieved. I've just recorded this whole recap video and forgot to press record. Okay, we're going to go for another take. I'm going to double check I am recording this time. Yes. Okay, the Leeds Marathon 2025, we're done, and I wanted to just record a little recap video on it, just to let you know what I thought about it, my performance, and yeah, maybe would I recommend it in the future. So I got round the course in 3:30 and 8 seconds. So it's my second fastest ever marathon, which I'm super proud of. I wanted 3:20. Now, was I being greedy? Was I being over ambitious? Could I have done it if I'd paced it in a different way? Hindsight, you know, these are all things that you can never really know the answers to, and that's part of what makes this whole sport so much fun for us, because you're always asking, you know, what if, and the shoulda, woulda, couldas all come out, don't they, after a marathon. But I did what I did on the day, and I'm actually really proud of the way that I ran it. I didn't stick to plan. My plan was to go off a little bit easier and second half kick on. What actually happened was I started easy, the first 5k was easy, but then slowly sped up until the bit I knew I couldn't carry on the pace, which was the hill. But maybe I'd gone too fast in the middle portion that I couldn't carry on at the end. But there were a couple of factors that did slow me down that I will talk about. So let's start from the start. So getting there. So I'd stayed at my mate Mark's house, and we went to pick up Beardy Rich in the morning from Nottingham, and then we drove up to Leeds. We arrived at, I think we parked at a Morrison's car park around about a mile away from Headingley Stadium. We arrived obviously on foot. The atmosphere was already building, you could feel it. And one thing, again, I'll get into this straight away, that I didn't like, once you're in, you are in. So you get into the event village and you do your toilet stop, you do your bag drop, and it's a one-way system. I don't think you can get out, or if you do get out, you've got to go join the back of the queue, get back in. So that wasn't great. Now, the reason I didn't like that, the reason it was good, because when you get into the stadium, obviously it's a massive cricket and rugby stadium, so there are lots of facilities there. The toilet situation was really quite good. Quite a pleasant experience, I might say, as well. One of the best I've had during a race morning. Then bag drop was easy. You just find your corresponding area to drop your bag. That was easy. And then you sort of stand and wait in your pen, waiting to be called to stand in your corral, I guess. So waiting in the pre-pen, I didn't realise in the pen itself was literally a stone's throw away the other side of where we were stood. I thought we would have at least had a little stretch of road that I could have done some warm-ups on. You know, when I think about the Cardiff half, for example, I could run up and down doing some shuttles, doing some strides and things, because I essentially went into the marathon cold, because I didn't do any warm-up, any drills, because I was assuming that I could do that. You couldn't swing a cat in that area, so bear that in mind. I couldn't do any drills. You know, if I'd have tried to do some skips, I would have given someone a dead leg in front of me. So that wasn't ideal. So we all went into it feeling, speaking for myself, went into it cold, even though it was about 16 degrees by 8:30 in the morning. When we actually started the race, the start was, as you'd imagine, nice and easy. I think the numbers on the day were 12,000, but I think that's half and the marathon as well. I don't know what the split was. I assume it was about 65-35, 70-30 maybe. Half marathon, I got the feeling, was bigger than the marathon. I could be wrong, but I think the marathon wasn't, I don't know. Maybe it was more like 50-50, I don't know. But the marathon itself, we all got away relatively easy. The road was nice and wide, especially on the start. And it was quite a nice downhill start. So Rich and I had sort of decided to run together. I know Rich's targets were maybe slightly were different to mine. I was looking for a 3:20. He was looking for around about 3:15, I think. But his A target was just to beat his Newport time, which is around about 3:37. But he wanted it to really push himself. But we both decided, let's not go out too hot. So that's what we did. First 5k, we wanted around about a 23:30-ish, and we got in at 23:43. Perfect, bang on the money really. The next 10k, bearing in mind it's starting to really undulate, the second 10k we did a bit quicker in 23:38, and at 4 miles, 6k, 7k-ish, there's a big hill, a long hill for about 1 kilometre, and that was the kind of first point where we thought, okay, we've got to buckle up here. This will not be an easy day at the office. When you do the Leeds Marathon, you know you're not getting yourself into an easy marathon. And I know no marathon is easy, but this one is definitely not easy because of the weather and because of the hills and the elevation. It's starting to really undulate with that big hill. And then we got into 15k, and it starts to flatten out by now. So we started to really get into our stride, and this is where Rich and I just started to run to feel. Rich and I, we were nice and conversational, so we were feeling good. Heart rate for me was around about 168, 166, and I thought maybe that's a little bit high, but the effort felt good, felt all right. And then when we got to 15k, having bear in mind that we just done that in 23:12, so we're speeding up. At 17k, we've got what I was calling the Big Dipper. We've got about 2 miles of really nice downhill. And then we've got about what looks to be about 10k of sort of valley floor. So that section between 17k and 28k, so around about 11k, was probably going to be the fastest of the day, and I knew that. So this is where I wanted to get into my stride, and that's exactly what I did. So Rich and I were still running together, and the first downhill section we got a little carried away, admittedly, but we just thought, let's give in to gravity. Maybe it's just better to do that than to put the brakes on, because it was quite steep. Target pace was 4:45. Did that one in 4:13. So a little quicker, but very quickly after that we reined it back in, and we're back to sort of sensible times of 4:35s-ish. Then I started appearing to run in a pack, but this was not just any pack. I was now running with some of the Leeds Rhinos boys, professional rugby players. This was the first moment I thought, what are you doing? Are you sure you want to go ahead with this? But I rolled with it. I was running with Kevin Sinfield. He didn't have a clue he was running with Andy, but I was running with him. And 2 of the boys who he was obviously running with, Leeds Rhinos lads. And they were running at a really, really steady, a lovely pace. So I joined the pack, and I rolled with them through a village called Otley, which is basically, I'd say, the Tower Bridge of the Leeds Marathon. And sailing through Otley behind Kevin Sinfield was maybe one of the best moments I've ever had in running. It was phenomenal. A moment that I'll never ever forget. Running behind him, part of that little pack, felt inspirational. It really, really did. The love that he was getting from the people of Otley, from everything he does for MND, for Rob Burrow, for Leeds, for the world, for charity. You can see how loved he is, and being not part of that, but being there to witness it was nothing short of incredible. So an amazing moment. It was at that moment that he showed his class as a runner. Bear in mind, Kev is a ultra marathoner, and he just showed his class because he cracked on up. Well, the next section that I really wanted to talk about was the hill. Now, this is the thing that I've been chatting for months now, and I've been training for. 4 kilometres, about 2.5 miles-ish of slow, steady hill. So the big question, was it that bad? No, I've run up worse, I've run up harder, we've got harder hills here. But 2 things made it really quite tough. The length of it and the position of it in the marathon. Having that hill at 17 miles till 20 was just so hard. So your pace drops, but your effort increases, especially if you're trying to keep to marathon effort, which I was. So going from 440s or 430s as I was now running with Kev and the lads, I dropped down to 530, 537 was my slowest pace. Bear in mind my heart rate was going up, pace was coming down. Got to the top of the hill with Rich. Me and him were still in good spirits, but we knew we were going to lose a bit of time, which we did. But then we tried to pick it back up down the hill. So we recovered slightly at a slower pace because obviously that hill had really taken it out of us. But this is where the Leeds Marathon really slowed me down, and probably my biggest gripe with the race itself, and maybe the reason that you may choose to not do this race if you're thinking of doing it next year or beyond. The half marathon got fed into us at about 22 miles. We were just picking the pace back up, and we were just starting to believe that we could get back on PB pace. And bear in mind, the last 10k of this race is downhill. There's a couple of climbs, but majority downhill. And when the half marathon gets fed in, and bear in mind it's the bulk of the half as well, so at this point the half marathoners are probably running between 2 to 2.5 hours, 2:45, anywhere in between that. So you've got walkers, and you've got the bulk of the half marathons. And I'm not having a go at anyone who's running that pace. I'm not having a go at them at all. It was just the organising of them coming out at that roundabout with contraflow, with 2 races feeding into one. It wasn't great. And immediately when you get fed in, there's a water station on the right, which you need because you're getting more and more thirsty, because I drunk all my electrolyte mix by now, and it was just carnage. So you're mentally exhausted, and I didn't have the effort really to sidestep people, so the only compromise I could make was to slow down. And when you slow down at that effort, very quickly your mind starts to go. So my head had already gone. Rich cracks on. It's fight or flight. I chose flight, and I'm slightly disappointed about myself for giving up, but I just couldn't do it. I was mentally exhausted, and I took, I don't know, probably 4 walk breaks for about 200 meters each time, maybe more, maybe less, I'm not sure. But then I jog walked it into the finish. However, at this moment I knew my race was over. The PB was over. So I knew around about 3:30 was the new target. And I jog walked it in, but the crowd getting into the Headingley Stadium was sensational. Now I've got to thank the half marathoners now, because probably there were more of them than us. Therefore, the crowds were doubled. The crowds coming into the rugby stadium was phenomenal. The lift that they gave me, I could have easily walked that last 3 miles, but I didn't. I jog walked it because the lift that they gave you was amazing. So I've got them to thank for that, for doubling the numbers. And as soon as I came into Headingley Stadium, I cramped up, so it was completely psychological. I could feel my hammy tighten up as soon as I saw the finish, but I ran through that little bit of pain and I got in. So my splits were for 5Ks, by the way, 23:43, 22:38, 23:12, 22:38, 22:33, slowed down up the hill, 24:26, 26 minutes, and then 30:09 for that final 5K. But finishing that marathon in 3:30, 6 minutes faster than Newport this time last year. I'm really proud of myself. Do I regret running faster in that middle third of my marathon? Absolutely not. It might have cost me, it might not, I'm not sure. The hill might have cost me anyway. The fatigue, the mental fatigue of the last 5 miles would have cost me anyway. So picking up the pace during that middle third, I don't think was a big deal. I'm glad that I ran the first third through the undulating sections as well as I did as well. I don't regret a single thing about it. And running through Otley with Kevin Sinfield was so worth not getting a PB for. So, and I did say, the moment the penny drops that I realise the PB's no longer on, I'll pull back. And I'm glad I did, because I would have completely flogged myself at that point for a 3:22, a 3:23, and I could have put myself in real danger down that last 3 or 4 miles maybe. So maybe the walk break was definitely needed. But anyway, shoulda, woulda, coulda. So there we go, 3:30.08. Would I recommend this marathon? Yes, if you like to muck in. If you like a good marathon day that's full of passion, hard work, and just complete, not compete, maybe that's your ethos. Yeah, absolutely, book it. If you want to really test yourself for a PB, yes, book it. You know, if you've got that Goggins mentality. If you want to just enjoy the day, enjoy the hot weather, enjoy the hills, book it, absolutely. The mood, it's electric. The atmosphere really is. It's so scenic. The views on top of the Chevin were beautiful. There's some really nice countryside sections. Leeds as a city shocked me. I thought it was quite a nice city to run around as well. And the crowds were something else. So yes, I would recommend it. No, however, if you don't like the stress of feeling claustrophobic in the morning. No, if you don't like the feeling of, if you know you'll throw the toys out of the pram when you realise with 10k to go that you're nowhere near the PB. No, if you don't like hills. No, if you don't like heat, because it's in May, so it's going to be a hot one. Yeah, so, and no, if you really don't like being fed in with another race. So maybe that's the clincher for you. If you don't care about all those things, absolutely do Leeds. Am I glad I did it? Yes, 100%. It's number 8 for me, and it was a really good marathon to do for me. It was right up my street, really enjoyed it. Content point of view, content gold. However, you might come at it from a completely different point of view. But all the training that I've done over the last 16 weeks, bear in mind, before the 16 weeks started, I'd got the Valencia PB in the bag, I'd got my sub 25k, and then Christmas hit me, and then I didn't lose my love for running, but I don't know, I felt myself becoming really negative, and I booked Leeds to really whip myself back into shape, and that was the best thing that I could have done, I think, for myself at that point in time. Admittedly, some of the other marathons I wanted to do were already sold out. Leeds was available, and I took it, and I think it was a good decision. So there you have it, the Leeds Marathon 2025. I got through it. I congratulate every single one of you who even attempted it. Maybe you DNF'd, totally understandable. If you finished it, congratulations. And I just wanted to say a massive thank you to everyone that gave me a shout on the day. It honestly blows my mind how much people just give me a shout. It really, really does. It is amazing, the community that's kind of forming around the channel. It's really overwhelming sometimes. And you know, when I met people, I met Adam, a lad called Adam, at the start, caught up at the end. He had a good race as well, who I'd met on the start line of York. I met another lad, Neil, who I met at the finish line, who I'd met at Alton Towers a year or two ago. He'd even custom printed something on the back that said "It's on." That was amazing. That was just so flattering for me. And you know, just so mind-blowing that someone would do something like that. Neil paced his mate to a marathon PB, and it's you know, it's moments like that that just really make you just feel the love and the joy of running. So sometimes it's not about numbers, is it? Sometimes numbers can spoil your day, but I'm glad for myself that the moment I realised PB's gone, having up to then I was still really enjoying my day. I'm glad that I was able to really enjoy the final 4 or 5 miles, because I could have really lost the plot. I could have really lost my head, Marm style, you know, when the half marathon got fed in. but I stayed positive as much as I could, and yeah, got over that finish line happy, healthy, smiling. Another one done. So what's next? Well, I'm going to do some 5 and 10k stuff as soon as my my calves have recovered, because they're in bits. Hamstrings, quads are not so bad, but my calves are quite sore from the alphas, and obviously the hard running that I did for 3.5 hours in Leeds on Sunday. But apart from that, I'm not feeling too bad. There's a couple of things that, yeah, I could change and maybe take into the next marathon I do, but that's part of the fun. And yes, maybe we'll look at tactics when when I've really taken in what I achieved this weekend, as we move on to the next one. But there are not many marathons out there like Leeds, and I think I'll leave it on that note. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this Leeds series, and yeah, it's been fun. So I'll see you guys on the next one. Take it easy wherever you are in the world, and I hope that's recorded. Yes, it has. See you soon. Take it easy wherever you are in the world, and ta-da. It's on.